Welcome everybody to my trade deadline recap video. Today I'm not filming in the spot I usually film in. That's because I'm in my living room watching trade deadline coverage on my television. So I'll be here recording a new clip and putting them all together as the day goes along when each new trade happens. Right now it's 12:15ish, so just a bit after noon. There's only one trade, I believe, so far. That's Thomas Vanek going to the Florida Panthers. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's talk about some of the trades that have happened in the past few days leading up to trade deadline. So first we have the Ben Bishop trade going to LA. When I first saw this trade, I literally just stopped, stared at my phone, and was like, why? Just why? I forgot that Ben Bishop was a UFA at the end of the season. I was thinking that they would only be able to protect one of the two goaltenders, Quick and Bishop, from the expansion draft. I totally forgot that he was a UFA. They don't need to worry about protecting him. They'll protect him Quick. No worries there. They easily have the best 1-2 goaltending tandem in the NHL. Hands down. Those are two of the best top 10 goalies in the entire National Hockey League right there. So that's a great move by LA. They didn't give up a ton. I thought that giving up Peter Budaj, no-brainer. Obviously, he's going to be part of the trade. He did do very good for the LA Kings this season, though. The defenseman prospect, whose name is slipping my mind right now, he seems like a very good defensive prospect. Top 4 defenseman in the NHL one day, but he's not worth Ben Bishop. And then I heard that there was a pick involved, a draft pick. And I'm thinking to myself, it has to be first, maybe second. I can see it. No, actually, you know what? Yeah, second round pick. It must be a second round pick. Maybe first. Third would be a little low. It was a seventh round pick. Blew me away. I could not believe that the Tampa Bay Lightning didn't get more for Ben Bishop. This is an all-star goalie. He's won the Vezina Trophy. This goalie is amazing. And I know that it was a trade that they had to make. I know that. But you have to get more. You just have to get more for a guy like Ben Bishop. Now, my dog has decided to join us here, guys. But as you guys all know, my favorite team is the Toronto Maple Leafs. My second favorite team, however, is the Minnesota Wild. And the Minnesota Wild went out and got Martin Hanzal this week for a first and 2 seconds. Are you kidding me? Don't get me wrong. The Minnesota Wild are a much better team now with Martin Hanzal in the lineup. And yeah, they got Ryan White too, but not a big part of that trade. But a first and 2 seconds, that's a big price to pay for Martin Hanzal. And then you have the Washington Capitals who went out and got Kevin Shattenkirk, the big fish. The big rental player, Kevin Shattenkirk, goes to the best team in the National Hockey League because life is fair. Essentially, I was surprised. I completely understand why the Washington Capitals would do that. Can't believe Kevin Shattenkirk fit under the cap, but I know that St. Louis is retaining, I think, 39% of Shattenkirk's salary, but still, even with that, I'm surprised that Washington can fit it under their cap, but they can, and they did. And they are clearly the favorites to win the Stanley Cup right now. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm stumbling a few times talking. This cough is really annoying right now, and a bit of a sore throat, but I'm powering through it because it's trade deadline day, and I want to make this video for you guys. Lastly, I want to talk about Brian Boyle. And actually, this is awesome. Dwight King goes to the Montreal Canadiens for a conditional 4th-round pick that just came on my television right now. Quick thoughts on that, I guess. Initial reaction. It's kind of tough to make these, but I will be doing them all day. Dwight King's size. They want some goal scoring up front. He can score the odd goal, but he's more of a tough guy. Good on the penalty kill. He's actually a very good skater. I've seen him play for the LA Kings a few times. I've watched a few games. Dwight King's an underrated skater, but not going to help Montreal score many goals, so I'm a little bit surprised on that trade, but obviously, with Steve Ott and Dwight King now, they're trying to add some size. But back to Brian Boyle going to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Good face-off man, 4th-line center. Freddie the Goat and Ben Smith have both been on the 4th line this season. Neither one has worked out very well, so they're going to give the duties to Brian Boyle for a little bit, and it's a good call if you ask me. So besides the Dwight King trade that I just talked about quickly, the only other trade that happened today was the Thomas Vanek trade. I'm not including the trades that happened at like 12 a.m. this morning with Yannick Hansen going to the San Jose Sharks and Steve Ott going to the Montreal Canadiens. So far today, as teams wake up and make trades, Thomas Vanek going to the Florida Panthers is the only other trade. Florida, obviously, still trying to make the playoffs really, really badly. They're really trying to fight for one of those last wildcard spots or get into the top 3 in the Atlantic Division, because the Atlantic Division is so much worse than the Metropolitan Division this year. Thomas Vanek's going to help them score a few more goals, and they didn't give up a big price, a defenseman prospect, and I think it was a conditional third, or just a third, if I'm correct. So, smart move by the Florida Panthers. We now have more news. Apparently, pending a trade call, Jarome Iginla has decided to waive his no-trade clause and join the Los Angeles Kings to take one last shot at the Stanley Cup. Now, is Jarome Iginla going to make the LA Kings a better team? Yes, Jarome Iginla, only 8 goals, but he can score goals. He does. He does have a knack for the back of the net, and he'll help a team that doesn't score a lot score a few more goals. The only thing I have concerning about this trade is that he wants to go there to take one last shot at the Stanley Cup. And he's not even going to a team that's currently in a playoff spot. The LA Kings are not in a playoff spot at the moment I'm speaking right now. In the middle of the afternoon, on March 1st, the LA Kings aren't in a playoff spot. It's a risky decision to chase the Stanley Cup right now with a team who currently is fighting for a playoff spot. That's just my opinion, but Jarome Iginla out of Colorado, where he definitely isn't going to be winning a Stanley Cup. Absolutely not. They are terrible this season. They are probably going to be one of the busiest teams today, I expect. There's still just over 2 hours left until the 3 o'clock deadline, and I expect Colorado to be involved in more than a few more trades. Okay, so the Jarome Iginla trade is confirmed. He is going to the LA Kings for a conditional draft pick, and Michael Neuwirth has signed a 2-year, $5 million contract extension with the Philadelphia Flyers. We are now just under an hour away from the NHL trade deadline at 3 o'clock. Nothing has happened in the past hour except just now, Justin Fontaine got traded for Taylor Beck. That is it. Montreal just got Martinson from the Colorado Avalanche, another big player for their team to add some more toughness, and Kyle Quincy goes to the Columbus Blue Jackets, so he's going to get a chance to go for a deep playoff run. Did forget to mention there, Dalton Prout is the man going back to the New Jersey Devils, so Dalton Prout goes to New Jersey, Kyle Quincy goes to the Columbus Blue Jackets. There is just under half an hour left to the NHL trade deadline at 3 o'clock, and Mark Streit has just been traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning. A team trying to dump salary takes on a player with a pretty hefty contract. Yes, he's a UFA at the end of the season. We don't know what's going back to the Philadelphia Flyers yet, but if I'm going to guess, maybe it's Filppula. He apparently rejected a trade to the Toronto Maple Leafs that was going to be part of the Brian Boyle trade. Maybe they get rid of Filppula to take on a contract that they won't even have to worry about next year, so they're just going to have a bit of a heftier contract to deal with this year. And I was right. Valtteri Filppula is what's going back to the Philadelphia Flyers for Mark Streit. That was a pretty good guess by me, but a pretty logical one, so I'm not going to say I went out of the box and went out of the blue. Valtteri Filppula for Mark Streit, and apparently the Philadelphia Flyers are retaining some of Mark Streit's contract. The Flyers are also getting a conditional pick and a 4th-round pick for taking on Valtteri Filppula's contract, which doesn't expire this season. It expires at the end of next season. Under 10 minutes left until the NHL trade deadline hits 3 o'clock, which means no more trades can happen after that. Obviously, trades will come in after 3 o'clock, but in the last few minutes, P.A. Parenteau has been dealt to the Nashville Predators in exchange for a conditional 6th-round pick, and the more shocking one, Curtis Lazar is out of Ottawa. He has been dealt to the Calgary Flames. So it ends up being Joka Paka and a 2nd-round pick going back to the Ottawa Senators for Curtis Lazar and Koska. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. It's 3 o'clock. The deadline is hit, but that doesn't mean more trades will come in, because obviously, as we all know, trades do come in after the 3 o'clock deadline because they were pending a trade call. It's just past 3 o'clock, and the first trade after the 3 o'clock deadline has occurred, and it involves the Maple Leafs, but it's not one I'm very happy about right now. All we know at this moment is that Eric Fehr is going to the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's all we know. Now, it's believed the Maple Leafs are getting something else along with Eric Fehr, like a thank you thing, like a draft pick or a prospect, because we are essentially taking away the $2 million contract of Eric Fehr off the Pittsburgh Penguins, because they want no part of that, obviously. And the Leafs would probably be giving up something not that important. But I wouldn't be surprised if Eric Fehr never played a game for the Maple Leafs. I really wouldn't. So the Eric Fehr trade ended up like this. The Maple Leafs get Eric Fehr, a defenseman prospect, Oleski, who I really don't know that much about, and a 4th-round draft pick. And going back to Pittsburgh is Frankie Corrado. And then the Pittsburgh Penguins acquire Mark Streit, who was recently traded to Tampa Bay a mere couple hours ago, in exchange for a conditional fourth. I think it was a conditional fourth in 2018, if I'm correct. Another trade that happened, Drew Stafford going to the Boston Bruins for a conditional 6th round pick. Excuse me. And Laurie Korpikoski is going to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So Columbus has made 2 depth acquisitions today. First Kyle Quincy, and now left winger Laurie Korpikoski. That's a wrap on the 2017 NHL trade deadline. Fairly quiet day, not a ton of transactions. It says there's 16 trades, 28 players involved, and 12 picks involved. A lot of those picks being conditional draft picks. You know, I think Calgary is probably one of the winners of today. You know, they got Curtis Lazar, which was probably the best player dealt, at least a long-term player. They also got Stone a few weeks ago. So I really liked what Calgary did. You know, Montreal had the most amount of trades. They got bigger, but they didn't get anybody who's going to go in and make a huge impact, at least, you know, scoring goals, which is what they really need right now. And yeah, so again, I apologize that I stumbled on a couple words and like that. You know, I do actually have a cough. I am sick. Bad time to get sick for certain reasons, but I'm powering through it. And so yeah, if I took a stumble or something out during this video, that's probably why. I apologize. I hope you guys enjoyed this live reaction. I didn't have a ton of in-depth analysis on each trade because that was pretty much I see the trade, hit the mute button, click the camera, and start recording, and just what do I think about the trade first off. You know, what else happened late? Drew Stafford, Boston. I mean, the Leafs gotta hate that. That's Boston is one of the teams the Leafs are competing with big time for that third spot in the Atlantic Division. You don't want to see them get any help whatsoever. The Leafs get Eric Fair, but I mean, what's he gonna do? He's not gonna get much playing time anyway. Good for Frankie Corrado to get to a new team. I know Lamoriello wanted him to. And yeah, so it was a pretty quiet day. Everyone expected it to be a pretty quiet day because, you know, even though the expansion's coming up with Vegas actually being an official NHL team, there are now 31 teams in the NHL, everybody. 31 teams. Take that in. Take that in for a second. 31 teams now because the Vegas Golden Knights are allowed to make transactions. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Please like my Facebook page. It's all about hockey. The link to it is down below. I updated as much as I can all day on my laptop, or much as I could all day on my laptop. You know, each trade. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys back here next time.